Days when I couldn't live my life without you. Days go by and still I think of you. Days when I couldn't live my life without you. Without you. Without you. Without you, without you.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? How are you? Good to see everyone logged in tonight. Welcome to another episode of Chillin with Mendez. Really happy to be here this evening. Had a long day, but I was looking forward to this for about the last 2 weeks. So, yeah, we're going to have a fun night tonight. But before we kick things off, I just want to remind you guys, we have the holiday weekend coming up, right? So tomorrow night, I'm going to be DJing for dinner at Sushi Lounge tomorrow night in Totowa, New Jersey. I start at 7 o'clock, so hopefully you guys can make it out for dinner. And then, of course, the gentleman that's coming up shortly will be playing this Sunday, which we're also going to talk about as well. So welcome to the holiday weekend, guys. I figured this would be an amazing way to kick off the holiday weekend. But before we get things started, just want to say a few things. You know, this week we lost a legend in our industry, and I can remember many memorable nights with him in the DJ booth and just being around him. And what I would just like to say about that is, you know, may he rest in peace. He's brought many positive things to our industry, not only as a DJ, a record producer, but also as a human being. So I just want to pay my respects and my deepest condolences to the Murillo family and all of the friends that truly loved him. And just want to say we lost a legend today, this week. So I just wanted to just have a moment of silence for the man, the legend, Mr. Eric Murillo. All right, guys. Before I kick things off, I just want to make one more quick announcement. So, on Chillin with Mendez, we definitely have had some amazing people on the show. So, I'd like to announce our next guest after tonight. We're scheduling the date as we speak, but I do have a confirmation that on the next episode of Chillin with Mendez, we got the one and only Eugene Introna, who's going to join myself, and we're going to make this a little bit of a different Chilling with Mendez. It's going to be a three-part Chilling with Mendez, because those of you who know Big Eugene, he has a lot to say, he has a lot of knowledge, and I'm really, really looking forward to this three-part series where we're going to go over the history of dance music, the history of nightlife, and his contributions, because his contribution to the industry is just tremendous and something that you guys should really know and understand how deeply involved Eugene Introna was in the industry and how he played such a major role in all of our lives in the nightclub business. But without further ado, I'm really truly blessed to bring this guy on. I think all of us at one point definitely were on the dance floor jamming out to this guy. And I know for myself, as a up and coming DJ, I would be in the middle of the dance floors looking up at the DJ booth and admiring what this guy was always doing. And he always set the bar high. And if it wasn't for this gentleman right here, definitely wouldn't be at the place where I am today, because he, like I said, set the standard of where DJs should be, how DJs should carry themselves in the industry, and just many great things that we're going to talk about. So it's my great pleasure to bring on someone that we all know and love, Mr. Denny Tsettos. Yo! What is going on, my man?
Where were those applause coming from? There's silent people back there. I can't see them. Visible?
It's the cool effects that I have on this thing, but that was pretty cool, right? How's it going, Denny?
It's going really well. I love how you introed, touching base on your next guest with Eugene. Eugene has been like a second father to me, and I think to many people in nightlife, especially here in New Jersey. So it's great they're going to be talking to him. And of course, I mean, losing one of the greatest house DJs that the scene has ever been blessed to hear and be around with Eric. It's just tragedy. It's just another kick in the nuts that 2020 is bringing us, and it's should have never happened. It's gone way too soon, and I hope he's making everybody dance up in heaven right now. So, but it's terrible. I mean, I remember Eric early on. I mean, early days when I was playing at Abyss, like I actually had Eric Murillo fill in for me when I was going to play out of town.
Yeah.
I mean, and then his career kind of went like, through the stratosphere. You know what I mean? So local guy from Jersey with the El General Muevolo, that was his first big thing that nobody even really knew that he did it. Just unbelievable. To in the studio creating that line for "I like to move it" with everybody over there at the record label. It just, so many stories. He's touched so many people's hearts, and even with Jason, how many things he did with Jason, and it's really, really just a terrible thing, So my heart goes out to him, and my condolences to his family. So anyway.
Definitely a terrible loss in our industry. I mean, a Jersey guy, just like you, and back in the early days, I just remember his energy, his smile, and his eagerness to never say no to anybody. So he was definitely a bright spirit. He always used to call me Jersey because I'm from Jersey, and I remember meeting him at Mondo Music for the first time, and then later getting to work with him at Discotheque. He was just such a figure that really, truly a big loss for us.
For sure.
Yeah. But my dude, bro, I can't believe we're here right now.
Yeah, I know.
So freaking cool.
It is pretty neat.
Well,
Technology.
technology days and what we're doing, right? But we have a lot of people that are signed on. TOT, what's going on? How are you, sir? TOT is on. He he just commented, "Good evening, ladies." All right. We got a ton of people on. We'll get to shout outs in just a moment, but I guess the reason why I wanted to have you on is you have done so much in dance music that not many people talk enough about. But before we get into like the nitty gritty of the amazing things that you have done, how did it all start for you, bro? Like, was music always a part of your life growing up as a kid with your parents, or was it just how did it start?
Well, you know what? It's a great question. Music always been big in my family, from early days in Greece. My parents and my mom, they always loved music. So it was always in my blood. But with the DJing, how it started is the first time I ever went to a teen club. And it was, I believe, this place in Asbury Park called Xanadu, and then it turned to Relations. And I went there with my friends, and from that minute, when I just heard the music and I was went up to the DJ booth and I was kind of looking to see what this guy was doing, and the way he was just playing one song after another and blending them perfectly, I was like, "Holy cow, this is unbelievable!" It was like goosebumps instantly, and I had to learn how to do it. But before that, when it was, say, the mid to early 80s, I would take my headphones, plug it into my dad's stereo. He had a really cool one back then, these big, crazy headphones. And I would listen to Chuck Chill Out on Friday nights and
Ah,
Red Alert on Saturday nights.
mhm.
So that era of hip hop I just loved, with the breakdancing, and I tried to do all those stupid moves and it didn't work out very well for me, but it was just all about that music. And then that teen night experience, hearing the dance music stuff, where I was familiar with disco records from back in the day, and like even like the Abbas of the world and the Donna Summers. So I had that interest in that type of music, and then to hear it for the first time, I was like, I have to learn. And then I started messing around, ruining every record in my dad's like record case, and trying to learn how to scratch on belt drive turntables, and you know and I started doing little events for my church youth group, the Greek youth group, and started doing their parties. And then, I borrowed my friend's equipment, and it was all one thing after another, to the point I was doing proms and other school events. And, it built up to the point that when I was 16 years old, I I guess I got a job in a club. It was called Tsunami Surf Club in Long Branch, which then turned into Club Paradise. And they hired me to do teen nights. And it was me and this other guy that you might know, Johnny Vicious.
Oh, Johnny Vicious. No way,
You know,
really?
so me and Johnny, I mean, he was from Long Branch, I was from Ocean, and we all knew each other because we all went record shopping at this
Wow.
awesome place in Asbury Park called House Rockin' Records
Uh-huh.
that Danny Boy Marlin owned, and Jan.
Wow.
So, I started doing the teen nights. I mean, literally, I didn't have a car. So my dad would drop me off at the club with my crates of records, and I started from there. And things went really well, to the point that then they asked me to do the 21 and over nights. And I'm sitting here DJing 21 and over nights, and I'm 16 years old, and my dad's dropping me off at the club with my crates of records. So it was great. And then from there, the parties were successful, moved on to different places, and little by little, every couple of months there was something else that would pop up, and I was fortunate enough to be asked to play, and here you go.
Wow.
You know?
Danny, oh my God, it's crazy. I had a very similar uh, introduction to DJing. I had my cousin, my music was always big in my family, but my cousin got me started. But I too, like, I started in teen clubs. I started with my youth group at my church, DJing like their events. Then the teen club eventually turned into 21 and over club, and I too was like 16 years old DJing for these adults. And wow, that's really, really great to hear that we almost had the same path. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, I'll tell you. And the couple people that influenced me along the way on the early years is this kid Marcel Achintino, who was in he was in my school. He was a year older than me, and the legend in our high school, this guy Henry Vaccaro, who I'm sure HV you know, he's like his father has uh, is Kramer Guitars and owns the Berkeley Carteret and always threw the most amazing parties. So I started messing around with my friend Marcel, who was really good friends with Henry. And my first like high school party that I did, I was a sophomore, and it was like seniors party. And I think I have the picture. I'll send it to you. It's classic with this purple sweater that I'm wearing and my crazy hair. And you know who's standing behind me at that party? Who later got into the industry?
Oh,
Showboat,
no way.
Jimmy Fields.
Oh,
Yep.
wow. MC.
So,
Oh,
but I mean, Marcel was a big influence. But then probably the biggest influence in my DJ life is Kirk Lopez.
mm-hmm.
Kirk and I became really good friends. We would drive together, or he would drive me to the record pool, and we'd go everywhere together, everywhere, you know. And watching him mix, still to this day, I think he's probably one of the best technical mixers that I've ever heard. And I like to ride records for a long time, and I learned that from Kirk,
Yeah.
you know. And he played a major role. I mean, he was a dear friend for so many years, and then we kind of broke off because kind of life takes you in different directions. But you know, if I have to say who the biggest influence was in the early years, I definitely have to say Kirk Lopez, and he's still doing it. You know?
He's still crushing it. Uh,
Yep.
you're absolutely right about Kirk. He's technically one of the best DJs I've ever seen. I had the pleasure to work with him for a couple seasons at the Surf Club, and writing mixes is definitely something that he loves to do. But it's also an art form that was so nostalgic to the style of DJing that we're accustomed to. And when I hear people DJ today and only going in for 8 counts, 16 counts, it's like, what are you doing?
I know. I know. It's really, and you know, I learned how to DJ with disco records that were not, stand the tempo would float because you have real drummers, and you know you had to ride that record, you know, whether you're turning it with your finger or working the pitch control or dragging the side of the turntable to, you know, so it was constant work to really blend a couple of records well for an extended period of time, and forget it when you tried to add that third turntable on. So it was but that's how we learned, and that's how we mastered the craft, and learning on rotary mixers, and you know, it's just all that feel. So it's great. It's to me, it's the drug of all drugs, you know, and nothing has given me more excitement, give me more euphoria than music. You know, I can't lie.
So when it comes to DJing like then and DJing now with the technology, how do you feel about the technology these days? Does it still excite you in the same way from back in the day, or is it more of an evolution of feelings when you're being?
Well, it's exciting because I've always loved technology. I mean, I was one of the early guys to have like a sampler, you know, to loop the vinyl records, or you know, a jam man or some sort of effect. All those things. I started DJing on CDs early on the CDJ, on the CD 2000, the Denons. You know, so like I love technology, and it's it's a good thing, but you still have to have the roots in order to be able to utilize the technology. You know, it makes you, if you are creative and you are talented at what you do, when you have great tools, you'll be able to tap into more of that creativity.
Absolutely.
So today's DJ that hits a button and syncs everything, great. They can learn how to beat match records, but there's so much more to DJing than just beat matching. You know, it's knowing what to play, when to play it, and how to play it. You know, and I've always said you can take two DJs and they can both have the same records, and one's gonna have a dud dance floor, and the other one's gonna have people screaming and tearing the walls down because of knowing the art form of being able to read a room, play something the right way, and hitting it at the right moment. So, yeah, it's gotten easier to DJ, but it's also gotten harder in other ways too. So,
Yeah, because those creative juices are just always flowing in there because you have different, more evolved tools in front of you where you could be creative, right? So,
right.
I think one of the best things, like one of your best skills and something that I think you're known for is you're an amazing programmer. You really know how to control a room. And I'm glad that you brought up that point that, DJing is an art form, and you have to be able to know those types of skills. When you're in the DJ booth, like what's going on in your mind while you're spinning, like at certain times of the night, or like what's going on in your head?
Well, another good question. It's when you are going into a night, right? You're anticipating how it's going to go. And you say to yourself that, you know what, tonight I want to feature these records. I'm really feeling them. I want to definitely get to them. So I want to kind of plan around that. So you have an idea of the direction that you want the night to go, but it's so touch and go. It's a conversation you're having with yourself and the crowd. They're talking to you, telling you kind of what they're feeling, and you have to respond back to them. And sometimes you want them to go in a different direction, so you have to sort of get them there in a creative way. So it just like when a crowd is roaring, you feed off of that energy, right? Well, early on in the night, you also have to feed off of what they're feeling at the time. You want to be the person dictating the direction you want to take the night. Absolutely. You always want to be in charge, but you have to have good spidey sense to figure out what's happening. Sometimes, you know what? They're feeling a little bit more happy, then they're feeling a little bit more dark. So you have to feel the room out and then gauge it. And once you get them to the point, then you can get to those records or those songs or that type of moment that you wanted to have in your head prior to the night starting. So
When and you've had many epic nights in your career where you just had people in the palm of your hands. What is a better feeling, like knowing that you have total control over the crowd, or is it just dropping that bomb and seeing how they react? Which one do you prefer?
you know what I prefer? I prefer when I get a reaction to a record that is just as great as how I feel about that record. You know what I mean? So when I'm so excited to play and I know that this is going to be the one that's going to really get them crazy and it happens, the satisfaction that they love it as much as I do is the most rewarding feeling.
Yeah, that definitely.
It really is. Like, I love the music, and when I see that they love the music too, it gets me excited that I want to play them something else that they may love too. If you like this one, well, check this out. This is going to be great too. It's like a little kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. That I love what you're sharing right now, because a lot of the questions that I get is, what are we thinking up there while we're DJing? And I couldn't explain it in a better way than how you just said it. I mean, it's about sharing the experiences, our passion for music, and connecting with the crowd in that same exact way. And I never really thought about what fulfilled me the most, but I'm definitely going to have to agree with you on that one for sure.
No, it's great, man. Listen, it's all about the guys who are in it for the real reason. They're in it for the music, for the love of music, and they want to share that experience and that love with the crowd so they can experience that same great feeling. So it's a symbiotic thing that you really want to have with your crowd. It's you, the music, and the audience, all working together and off of each other. So.
I always get asked this question, so I'm going to ask you this question. When you go out, who are like the DJs that you like to listen to, or who tickles your fancy when you're on the dance floor?
All right. Well, we said who really influenced me and helped me become a DJ and hone my skills early on, which I said Kirk. The next guy I have to say is Junior. Junior Vasquez, without a doubt, at his heyday, nobody could control a crowd and master a room better than him. So watching him, like when I was playing at that club, when I was 17, I was still playing at Tsunami. And what I would do is when I finished playing, I would go by myself into the city to go listen to, before Junior took over at Sound Factory, was Frankie Knuckles. So he was the one I was listening to first. And I love Frankie. Frankie had that beauty and that softness and that prettiness. And you can tell a Frankie production a mile away, and his glow that he had, it always showed. And I would go there by myself just to listen. And when Junior was playing, I just really liked. I sit in the corner by myself. I knew no one. Truly knew no one. I don't care if I was going there without anyone. I just wanted to go and hear what this guy was doing. And it just it won me over. I mean, the guy just took control and would create things on the fly. I mean, now people do mashups and edits on their computer. He was doing them live, you know? He was creating something and a new version of it on the fly, you know? And that to me is the real artistry. And that's what really influenced me, that when you're playing a record, you're telling a story. And really highlighting that record and really want to showcase it, knowing how to play it, and whether you're looping a section or you're, you know, putting an effect on something and creating the drama. You know, he was the queen or king, whatever, of drama.
Yeah.
You know, nobody did it better. And he was a major, major player in my life when it comes to shaping me and the way that I wanted to play and the way that I wanted to play for my crowd. So, and I mean, there's other people as well that had major roles, but I have to say he was really significant, you know? Danny also, to a point. I loved Danny in the early years when he was doing his sets at Groove Jet at Early Winter Music Conference. You know, that to me was uh, my favorite version of Danny. And I mean, Morales too. I would go and listen to him at place that Red Zone, and he would always strip down in his damn underwear and have Satoshi Tomi on the keyboard in the booth too.
Yeah.
So watching all those guys and, you know, the passion that they had and the interpretation that they had of the dance music that was being played and their twist on things, it shaped me, you know. But I'd say where I liked the most and who really honed into what I loved was definitely Junior, for sure.
Yeah. You know, that's one thing I definitely appreciated about you, was I would always see you at Twilo having a good time, sitting in the corner, observing and listening. Uh, and I always used to say to myself, I'm like, wow, that's really cool that Denny's out here, like with everybody, hanging out, chilling, listening to the music, having a good time. Because I think it's important for DJs to do that. They got to listen, and they need to be out in it to understand exactly what inspires us, because sometimes we need that. And Junior was definitely that for me. And seeing you there and enjoying yourself outside of the DJ booth was something that I resonated with, and I enjoyed seeing that. And not only just you, like every industry person was there on a Sunday morning, either at Twilo or at Arena or at Sound Factory or Tunnel. It was he just brings it out in all of us when it comes to passionate music people.
But you know what was so great though? It was a family, you know, everybody. It was just like our family, from whether it was the Staten Island crew or the guys from Long Island or the guys from the city. And, you know, and it was just, we all shared that bond, that love of music. And we, you know, some of my closest friends are from this industry, meeting them out at these clubs and sharing these moments that, you know, 25 years later, and we're still, that feeling is fresh in our head in that moment, you know. So these are things that you'll never forget, and that's the power of music. You know, it's a feeling, and music triggers memories and moments more so than anything. You know, you hear a song and you're like, oh my God, it just brings you back to where you were, or a great moment, and also a sad moment. But for the most part, it has a positive influence in you. And so, you know, all the people that I met, like you said, Tio's listening. I mean, he one of my closest friends that I met through, you know, the industry. So many of them, you know, it's just whether it was guys from the record labels or the record pools, where it was a Hosh or a Darren Friedman or Bobby Shaw, you know, still one of my close friends in the record world. You know, it's just, we all had that same common denominator, and that was our love and our passion for music. So
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm glad that you brought up, you know, the record label and Hosh and those guys, because you really had a wonderful career at the record label, at multiple record labels. How did you? I won't announce all the places that you worked at with the record labels, but how did you get involved in working at your first label?
well, I mean, I always loved it. I mean, it was just kind of one of those crossroads that I was still in school, graduated, and then getting ready to do the graduate thing. And I I was in the record pools, playing in the clubs, and another person who got me into the executive side of the music industry is this unbelievable man by the name of Harry Towers. Okay,
Oh wow.
any anybody in the industry who is a DJ or a record executive or a music programmer, whomever, knows Harry Towers from Staten Island. So hi Harry, I love you, miss you, and Same thing to Paulie over there. But he's the one who would send me music over the years when he was whatever labels he was promoting for. And at one point in time, he asked me if I wanted to be involved because he knew I really wanted to use my college education and my knowledge on the corporate side or executive side of the music industry. So, and I said, what a great way to do it, to have both sides of the music industry that I'm earning an income from. So he was working at the time for Radical Records. 2 Unlimited was on there. Jürgen Kordelich, the owner of that record label, and still is, and still kicking really hard with stuff, was starting another division. He was part of BMG, and he started another division called Popular Records. And Harry was running their promotion department, and he had asked me if I was interested, and I said yes, and I interviewed with Jürgen, and I got the job. And it was basic on the bottom of the barrel, just starting just basic club promotion and sending out to record pools and club DJs and mix show DJs and just getting our music out there. And during those years, I got to meet so many people, you know, whether it's other fellow DJs, Billboard reporters, mix show guys. I would meet some of these program directors and music directors. And so that whole circle just kept on growing. And even Jeff Z, you know, I met, was it when I was at the label? I don't know. I think, or maybe he came to Temps. Either way, but I mean, just so many connections that I made from that, and from doing club promotions. And I started working the Billboard chart, the dance chart, and from there started doing the radio. And you know, over the years, from Popular and Radical, I moved on, and I went to Metropolitan, where I ended up starting my own sub label. Started featuring all our friends to put out music and put a little extra money in their pocket. And, you know, our music scene during that time in the New York, New Jersey area was thriving. So, you know, getting the likes of Sal Parm and Christian and you know, the Plasmic Honey guys and Santana and, you know, everybody, Mike Macaluso, and so many of all our local heroes, you know, and our local celebrities that were putting out such amazing stuff that I wanted to be able to put it out and for the world to hear. And it started in that label, was lots of fun. My first release was Africa, which was great, you know, and then Dream Drums, which again, it was all the Plasmic Honey stuff, and, you know, Jason Ojeda and Motomo was the Drum Theory, which, you know, they did the original mix, and then Sal and Christian did the dub, and it went from there. It was, to me, it was so much fun, because not only I was hanging with my friends, I was getting them paid and some records signed, so we could all just enjoy the fruits of our labor. And to me, was my favorite time was during those years when I was working for that label and being able to get everybody involved, you know, because to me, that's what it's always been all about, you know, is helping the fellas, you know, even though DJing is very cutthroat and a lot of people backstab for the most part. But I think that the crew that I ran with, for the most part, they were all stand-up people and really good people, and still I'm happy to call them my friends today, you know? So it was great. That was a lot of fun.
Definitely a lot of fun. I mean, you were the A&R of that label, and you broke a ton of those records just with all the residencies that you had. My favorite Metropolitan record is Rob Dale, Make Me Come. That record, yeah. I mean, I used to play that record every single Friday when I was the resident at Sound Factory. And that would be the one record that I knew I could drop it, take the volume off, like shut it to complete silence right when it was going to drop, and the crowd would just erupt, clapping, hooting and hollering. And I will never forget that. That's awesome. Richard Grant always used to ask me if I was going to play that record, because he loved how the crowd would react to that song. And he knew when it would come on, I would see him sitting in his chair just bopping, and he would wait for me to like drop it, and he would be so excited. So I thought you'd appreciate that that little story with that record there, because it was a very big record for me.
Well, I really hope that Rob DeLeo is listening and watching this right now, because I'm sure he'll be thrilled. He was another guy. We loved him. I mean, he's awesome, and he's still killing it right now. He's in a different world doing construction and contracting stuff, and he's doing really, really well for himself. But he was another one. and he loves Sound Factory, so I'm sure he heard it there too plenty of times. But that was during the Exit year
Mhm.
when he brought that to me and we put it out. But yeah, I mean, so many of them. And you see those guys, it makes me so happy for you to tell me that you were playing that record and it was so big for you because I think of Rob, and Rob's a great dude.
Um,
So it's awesome.
Squirrel Project 2, Get Up, that was huge, and I
Yep.
I would wait for you to play that at Temps on Saturdays. I'm like, oh, come on, is he gonna play Get Up tonight?
Yep.
One of my
And even the title of that, we came up with the title of that, like Richie, when we were just say stupid. I mean, Richie would always have like these crazy one-liners, and it was like, it's something about a squirrel with the nuts off on a platter, and I think if on the logo, I think that's what the picture
yes.
was, or something
Oh,
like
really?
Squirrel Project. So it's just the stupidest things we would say and do to make each other laugh, and we make music with it, and that was a great record too.
Yeah,
That was a lot of fun.
those are very, very, very good times. And when you're sitting in the A&R seat, uh, what was that like? Was there like a lot of pressure to make quotas, make sales, or was it just more of like the fun of running a business? What was it about being an A&R that you loved the most? Obviously the music, but when it comes to the business end of it, was that something that you enjoyed or?
Yeah, I did. And you know what? Remember how we were just talking about how you want the dance floor to react to a record as much as you love it? It's the same thing on the A&R side that you want the DJs to love it as much so they can buy it, and they can support it. So it's sort of like the same mentality that you have to have, but now you have a fiscal responsibility when it comes to signing a record and hoping that it's going to project to sell at least 1,000, 1,500 copies, whatever that limit or that bar that we had set for every single to sell. So you have to keep that in mind. And you have to be in tune with what's going on the dance floor, and not only my dance floor, but other dance floors too. So, and that's another thing that you have to keep into perspective. You're not signing a record just for you, meaning in that case for me to play at Exit or wherever I was at the time. It's a record that everyone will be able to play on all their dance floors too. So you have to be open-minded with that kind of stuff too. And that's where having a different person doing a mix of the record comes into play that would focus on that market that can help, push that record along further. So it's, there's more thought that needs to be put into it, but still awesome because again, it ties back to the number one thing, which is the music.
Yeah,
So
that's definitely cool. I just totally lost. Oh, you know what I was thinking because also on that label you came out with your a mix CD as well that featured a lot of those tracks, but you also came out with a bunch of mix CDs too.
yeah, went on Metro Underground. We just did two compilations of all the releases. Is Welcome to the Underground Volume One and Volume Two. But yeah, I did a couple other compilations for Logic and Ultra, and also Louis DeVito's label DV, and for Gossip. So I did. I think it was like 4 or 5 total compilations I did, which is great too. That's always a lot of fun. But also, it's a big pain in the neck when you're trying to license records and they're giving you a hard time saying no or trying to charge you, a king's ransom. So
You know,
that
like yeah,
that was challenging, but it's still fun to get out there. And I remember the first compilation that was in the stores and seeing the big advertising in Virgin Megastore in Times Square, and that was a big rush. That was really really cool to see. When you see something that you did that's on display, that was definitely a cool feeling.
yeah.
Very, very cool feeling.
Do you
And
still
at
listen?
the time that like Richie, not, was it no Scribble and Anthony had the MDMA releases, and it just that whole era, man. It was all about our group, and it was so awesome.
Yeah. Do you still listen to any of those today? Like you'll be driving to work and be like, you know what, I'm gonna throw on the New York City Underground CD today.
I have to say no,
No.
but I did when I dug them out when I recently moved and I found some of these old things. I did listen to them and I was like, wow, you laugh at some of them,
Uh-huh.
and others like, you know what, it was pretty good back then, So it's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag.
I would feel that way when I listen to like productions that I've done. I'm like, oh my God, that was so bad, or oh my God, that was so awesome. And that I want to make that pivot into this part of your career because, bro, you were a beast in the studio. You remixed everybody. And you had not only like did you, everybody knows your DeLacy, that look with you and Richie, huge, massive record. Um, but you also did Deborah Cox, you did Justin Timberlake. I mean, you did a lot of stuff in the recording studio. What was that experience like? Because and this is why I want to talk about these things, because not only were you an amazing DJ, amazing programmer, you were an A&R, and you really just embodied everything that a DJ should be. So, especially being in this studio. So, what was that like for you?
Well, I'll tell you, if any part of my career that I feel that I fell short, it's on the production side. I think that's where I really think I needed to still push forward and do more. But I did get to do some really cool things. Nothing really blew up huge or anything like that, but I like the stuff that I did. I mean, the remix of DeLacy, I mean, it really takes a village idiot to screw that classic record up. So, it came out great. I mean, Richie is one of the top guys, I could say, in the studio. His ear and his way of working in the studio is great. I mean, he's very tight. His productions are clean, so it was awesome. And then the other engineer that I worked for a long time, and he was like mostly my partner, was Joe Carano.
Oh,
And that's where, like the Cores and the Brandy remix and the Justin Timberlakes are all done at his studio over there. And, Joe worked on, I would say, 90% of Junior's productions.
yeah.
So he was the engineer back there for a lot of his work too. So Joe was great. He taught me a lot too, and in the room. So, and he had a tremendous musical background that we could always like fall back on and find things. I would bring ideas, bring records, samples, and this and that, and we'd always find a way to kind of bring it all together. He's awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken to him in a while too. I need to catch up with him. But I mean, the last, I guess, portion of the remix stuff that we were doing for the last 4 or 5 years is a guy from Brooklyn, Lenny Montuano. So he's another one that I think is very underrated, and he needs to be heard, both from the DJ side and also from the production side. He's a very talented kid. He's a really nice guy, very down to earth. And, he's also has a good ear. And we cranked out a few, smaller artist stuff over the past several years that we did, and he's working right now. I think he has a production he did with Mike Ivy that's on the chart.
Tool Room, yeah.
So
Doing really well. When
yeah,
when you were going into the studio, you talked about like bringing samples in. How did you get those samples in? Was it records from a night that you DJ'd and you'd put them off to the side and then you'd be like, oh wow, like this record is pretty dope. I want to use this in a sample and a kick. Or how did you put your pieces together?
it's just like that, just from listening, and you're hearing like a record that has an amazing loop that you want to grab, or a hi hat or a kick or something that was great that anything. It was whatever. There's all these records that have unique sounds, and you find something that you want to use, and you know what, that snare could go with that kick or whatever it is. It's just, or that loop really could work with what where my head's at right now. So, I mean, that's how it all kind of started with sampling, right? All these records, that's what they are. They're all samples from something else. So, and that's the creativity that the DJ brings, because that's our job. We hear records and we think of what can go with that. Whether it's in the same key or a harmony or whatever it is that it'll sound good together. So we're always mixing in our head. So when you hear a sound, you're like, wow, I could use that. And that's why a good production guy and DJ can be a tremendous tandem, because the creativity, the vision, the sound could be from the DJ, and then you have the engineer that can take that and sort of piece it together, and together you can make magic.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel for every great producer, remixer, there's always the guy in the background who's the engineer who really makes that engine go. So, and there's a couple guys that have that function inside them, that not only are they talented producers, but they're also amazing engineers too, and can do everything soup to nuts.
Yeah. For sure. You also did a lot of stuff on the radio, my man. The KT Sanctuary, bro. That was
Well, 13 years on the radio,
yeah.
between KTU and then on Sirius for another 6, whatever. That was awesome. That was really, really cool. And the first time I had a mix show air, I think it was like 97, and it was I recorded it. Jeff said it was going to be on at this time, and listening to him like, oh my God, I'm on the radio. This is so neat. And then that euphoria became even crazier when we were going live at Temps, and my first live broadcast, which is not only for the couple million people who are listening on the radio, but the 2,000 people that are in the club at the same time. So not only do you have to be mindful of your dance floor, but also what's going on the radio too. So that was nerve-wracking at first, but once I realized that, block that radio portion out and just be yourself and do you, and it all came together. And that was, to me, that's the highlight. Being in the club, having that energy, and at the same time broadcasting live for everyone to hear too. So if anything, I could say the pinnacle was definitely those live broadcasts for sure. Better than traveling to another country, playing in another DJ booth or whatever. Those years and those moments in Temps, to me, I put on top of anything else.
Yeah, those nights at Temptations obviously were just the greatest days of my life, and I'm sure the greatest days for many people who are tuned in tonight. And man, so how did you start over at Temps? Like, how did you get that gig? Because Temps has been there for a while, and there's other DJs that have played prior to you. So how did you step into that Temptations gig?
Well, I mean, again, remember from the early days from working at Club Paradise or Tsunamis and all that building up. Before Temps, there was another amazing club and amazing people that I had the pleasure of working with and working for a long time, and that's Coast and Dimitri at Club Abyss.
Yeah.
All right. So right after, when I kind of graduated my undergrad, I was playing at this place in Red Bank called Stevie GB's, which was awesome. And Showboat was the MC there, and we had a blast. It was like early 90s, 90, 91, 92, 93, right around that time. So right after that, I mean, Coast and Dimitri were coming to the club and heard what was going on and had asked me if I wanted to play. Dave DeLissa became the general manager over there. And Dave was a bouncer at Tsunamis where I DJ'd prior. So we had a relationship, before. So, and I started playing there, and, Costa and D and all that whole crew, we just started, and it was basically from nothing with that club, and we built it up, and I got fired at one point in time on Fridays. I was doing my Fridays there, and we were building it up, and they let me go, and then we came back when Dave was there, and I said, listen, this is what I want to do. This is why I want to do it. Just let me be me. Let me play the music that I want to play and the music that I believe in, and I know we can make it successful. And thank God I had their blessing and a great team. I mean, like the Lisa Tadaros, who was doing promotion over there. She was amazing. It's just so many great people from Club Abyss. I can't even begin to tell you. But Costa and Demi, they loved the music as well. So they were young. I mean, they were our age too, and they were owners of nightclubs. So it's just like they grew as we grew. And, that Friday night party became legendary. It became the night at Abyss after a while. And it was all because of they finally put down the reins and let me play the music that I thought would work. And that's when I feel the whole Jersey scene changed. That music was not played in Jersey anywhere.
No.
Nowhere.
I was driving down to Abyss on Fridays to hear the music. It was
okay. So, and that's when I really started my closer relationship with all the guys from Staten Island, like Anthony Acid coming there and Richie, and brought all those guys for the first time to kind of, check out the place and hear what's going on over there. And from there, we would go to the city afterwards, because I think Eddie was playing at the Tunnel or whatever was going on. Alex and Leo were doing something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But that Friday night party is what really kind of took me to the next level. And also the club. And from Club Abyss is where I got my opportunity to play at Temps.
Yeah.
Because everything was doing so well, and they finally were hearing what was going on down there in Seaside, because those people lived in the damn bubble. They didn't know what the hell was going on. Outside of Eugene, it was country bumpkins over there. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, and my first audition at Temps was August of '96, which was basically the end of the summer of '96.
Hmm.
And they were hurting. Club Excess and Frankie Velarde was killing it. He was the man down there. And shout out to Frankie, love him. Another one with a great ear for music. And he actually was playing great music down there at Excess during those years. He for sure had a wonderful ear for house music and knew his stuff inside and out.
Uh-huh.
So he's another one who kind of paved the way for Jersey down that south and exit 82 and stuff. Because he was also playing, I forgot, he was playing somewhere up in North Jersey. Was it City Lights? I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
God, but anyway, he was one of the handful of guys that really got it, in Jersey back then, So started my first time at Temps, August '96. The place was not doing well. Within 3 weeks, the numbers kind of went from next to nothing to the room was full. Closing party, Labor Day weekend, it was huge success, which landed me the gig from then on, from '96 to 2005. So my first full summer at Temps was '97, starting on the Saturday nights and then eventually doing the Sundays also, which that became its own little monster by itself. It was a special vibe on Sundays compared to Saturdays. It was more let your hair down, people leaving Temps on Saturday, going to Sound Factory right afterwards, coming down straight to Joey's Surf Club, the entire day over there, taking a disco nap, and then coming to Temps Sunday night.
Yeah.
So
that's actually one of the questions that I was going to ask you on my list was about Sunday nights because, Saturday nights, epic. But I'm going to tell you, I had fun on Sundays because you played differently on Sundays.
Of course, you had to break up the night. And I'll tell you one thing. The first Classics night ever happened on a Sunday night in Temptations.
Revisiting
Summer's Classics night started.
Yeah, revisiting Summers Past you did, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. But that came after the night because one night in Tio, if you're listening, he could probably vouch for me. I go, dude, tonight, I think we're at Surf Club on the beach. I want to do something different. I said, I want to play all old house music, all classic stuff, the entire night. That's what I want to do. And we're all like freaking retarded and, yeah, great idea. Let's do it. And that's what I did Sunday night. That Sunday, I just played all old stuff.
Yeah.
And it went over really, really well. And then from there, the Classic night started. And when did we do it? We always did it on the Saturday right after 4th of July weekend because that's always like a little bit of a slower night. So because it was so successful, when we did it on that Sunday, we're like, this thing could work. It might have some legs. Let's try it. And then from then on in, Classics party started.
Yeah.
1998. That's when it began.
Oh, man. 98 was just all those years in Temptations was such a great year. But, I think that's one of the ways that you separated from a lot of the other DJs in the industry is because when you have to play back to back like that, you really have to depend on programming the night, just like you said. So what was your mindset going into each night? Because you said earlier you like to have these like big records and try to morph it around. What were the difference between the big records on a Saturday night and a big record on a Sunday night?
Saturday night was more serious. You had to make sure that you dotted your I's and crossed your T's.
Yeah.
Because that was the big night. Everyone coming, it's rammed in there. You want to make sure you do everything right. Sunday is like, I don't give a shit. We're going to have fun, and I'm going to take chances. I'm going to do whatever. So it was more like an anything goes, laid back vibe on Sunday that you didn't have to get all dolled up and look your best, whether you're a guy or a girl. It was more like, let your hair down, go in your sweats and your wife beater and have fun and let loose. So that night that's why it took on a life of its own because it had that laid back sort of vibe that people felt comfortable and anything goes, whatever we wanted to play, we played,
I think you hit it on the head. Comfortable is a really good word to describe Sundays because it wasn't as busy. Don't get me wrong, it was busy, but it wasn't as packed and you had room to just like really let loose.
Exactly.
And the music that you played on a Sunday, I felt was really more like the underground vibe where I felt Saturday was a little bit more commercial. So coming off an early morning of Twilo and Factory going down to Sunday to hear you, I'd be like, yeah, I like Sundays better because it had that different. I want to say it had a New York City vibe to it when you played on Sundays.
Well, you know what? That's a good way to kind of like categorize it because it's almost like Saturday was main stage and Sunday was one of the side rooms. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Side tents.
Totally.
You know.
Hmm.
So you had to appease more people on the Saturday night, where Sunday you had a more eclectic audience
Uh-huh.
that were more open for different things.
Hmm.
So
Some of the greatest things that I feel that everybody loved at Temptations was the end of the night when the lights would go on. Jersey Joel would be on top of that bar, egging everybody on, and everybody would say that one more song, and you would drop a song. Now, my question to you is, how how did you know what song you were going to play? Was it just a spur of the moment thing? You're like, I'm going to play You Don't Know Me because that's just going to end people off right. Or, I'm going to play this at the end of this song. Was it more spontaneous? Was it planned? Because whatever you did and whatever last song you played, it worked every single time.
it was very spontaneous. It was super spontaneous. A lot of times it's like, oh shit, what am I gonna do right now? Let me find something. It was just so spontaneous. The only time it was thought out was what's going to be the record of the summer, right? That everybody was always talking about during that. People cared about music and they were like, what's going to be the record of the summer? And the record of the summer was always like the second to last record that I would play after the broadcast, at the end of the closing party. So that was the only thing that there was a thought process. And then it was basically reflecting on the whole summer, every single weekend, which were the highlight records, which one do I feel was the one that sort of rose above everything else. And that would be the featured record
Yeah.
on closing party. But on the regular night, or when the lights come on and Joel is just like egging everybody on. By the way, love him, miss him so much.
Uh-huh.
You know, he's another great soul over there. But it was free willy, man. It was whatever I found at the time, whatever I thought was cool, and scrambling and just giving people one last thing for them to yell at me, whether it's like Vinny Senior or Sadi or whatever manager, or the bouncers hated me when I did that.
You even got arrested one night. Is that true?
Yeah, that's very true.
What happened that night? They just came up to the booth and handcuffed you and took you out?
No, they waited until I got outside.
Oh.
So, he became the sergeant of the town afterwards, or chief, or whatever his name is, whatever. At the time, they just you know what? This is the funny thing. We'll talk about that since you brought that up. This is opened up can of worms here. So, you know what the funny thing is? During those years, like summer '98, for example, the police thought that I was a drug dealer.
What?
Isn't that funny? Yeah, because you know what was going on during the years, and everyone's like, we're here for Tsettos, we're here for Tsettos, right? And these hillbilly cops didn't know what was going on, so they thought I was some sort of like kingpin. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. So, summer '98, when we were trying to play one more song or whatever, and I played it for 30 seconds. The cop was inside the room, and he thought I disrespected him or did whatever, but it was nothing. It was just something that we did basically every single weekend. So then I pull my car up in front of the club. I'm loading up my record bags and everything, and next thing you know it, two cop cars pull up, and I'm like, what's going on here? And they didn't tell me anything. They didn't say anything. I go, what are you doing? And next thing you know it, I'm shipped to, whatever. And then they ended up not letting me out because they really want to put the screws to me. And they sent me to county overnight.
What? I didn't know.
Yep.
Wow. So
Yep.
that's really what fucking happened that night?
That happened that night. And my friends were waiting for me the next morning so we can get out of there. Of course, I fought it in court and won, and I could have pressed charges against the town, but I was advised not to because of ownership and the relationship of what's going on over there. But they did it, and it was all on false pretenses, and I got everything expunged, and I could have sued them and pressed charges against them. But it was them just being jerks and, whatever. So probably one of the lowest moments of my life when that happened. I have to admit, because I felt like an absolute loser, a piece of garbage, especially when I didn't do anything wrong. But I was vindicated. later on, which was great and made me feel good, but still, it was completely unnecessary. And the story behind it is, yeah, they thought I was doing crazy stuff, which I was. I was a dealer of great music.
That
That's
that music was the drug.
yeah.
Is there any? I mean, there's so much music that are like memories when it comes to those years at Temptation. Is there one or two songs that just come to mind where everyone just absolutely went ape shit to?
Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch, but I can tell you like every summer, which were highlights. And to me, one of the unique records, because I think I kind of broke a couple unique records down that way. And the first one, well, in 97, summer 97, I'd have to say is when the Depeche Mode Rawhofer, It's No Good.
Yeah.
You know, that, Weep, Jars of Clay, those were highlights. Love it's just Love Parade, those records,
Mhm.
97. 98, I think the unique record was The Tamperer. And that I started playing right before summer at Abyss, which became a monster. I remember Lisa Tadaro was in the booth, and I said, listen to this song. This thing's going to be huge. And she's like, what? And instantly, it was like an instant hit with that Michael Jackson sample. And then another unique record that stood out down there was Green Velvet, La La Land, which is another left from center that became really big over there. Not your typical record that you think would be big, but it was a Temps record. And then, of course, he had some of the monsters that Jonathan made that were huge for me, whether it's the Jessica Fokker or the Fokker, whatever. Sorry, I'm mispronouncing. And the obviously the the Whitney Houston. So, but the My Love Is Your Love, which was the staple record
You know,
for tennis, you know?
it's one record that even like when I play my classic sets that everybody always asks for. Everybody always asks for Angel.
I was going to get to that.
Where did I
And
just steal your answer?
that was my next thing. But if I have to pick one record that I can basically associate Temps in my years there, it's definitely Angel. That was the last song I played before the place closed down. And that song was very special for me personally because it reminded me of my grandfather when he had passed. And that song kind of had like a couple lives because originally I did that record with Anthony Acid
Hmm.
in '98
Yeah.
in his studio in Staten Island, and it was great. I remember Junior even playing it back then, and then after sort of the record went to the side and we moved on to other things, it sort of became a thing again, and I remixed it in 2003,
Yeah.
and that next generation of kids just fell in love with that all over again and sort of like took it till today, I guess, and I redid it in 2003, and I also did another version that I really didn't play much or put out in 2004. But the 2003 was the one that was most popular.
Hmm.
But our age guys, we still fall back on the version of '98, which to me is the most special.
Yeah, that one's definitely special. When you're putting that record together, like in the studio with Anthony, was how long did that record take to make?
Took a couple days, overnight, like basically all nighter through the studio. I remember falling asleep on that couch, being delirious for a while, and it was like a couple day thing. That mic record. Do you remember that mic record that had like almost like that spin back? That boom, boom,
Yes.
what was that?
Mhm.
It was the Mike record. It was black and yellow.
Yes, black and
That record
yellow.
sampled in there.
Yes.
If you hear in it, that's what inspired me. That record and that section, I'm like, this thing needs to be used, and that's how it sort of took off from there.
Yeah. When you finished that record and you heard it when it was done soup to nuts before you played it in the club, did you know it was a smash hit? Did you know the crowd was going to love that record after you're done with
Oh, I don't. I mean, you think, but you never know.
it? Yeah.
You know, it's different with a vocal record because it has to be legit for it to really resonate.
Hmm.
You know, you can make an amazing track that has a huge build up, great breakdown, powerful synth, and it'll get a rise off a crowd. But a vocal has to be legitimate. It's not only the production around it, but it's the song itself.
Yeah.
It's how the vocal sounds. The lyrics also mean something, especially more to the girls than to the guys. So it has to be the total package. But I love the song. I love it from the very beginning. Originally, you know, as a freestyle record, an artist out of Canada. It was never released in America ever. Jurgen, I don't know why you never released it, but anyway, it was one of those things that it was like a secret thing. It was everybody identified that record to me still to this day, and without a doubt, my most special record that I can associate Temps with for sure.
I have so many great memories at Temps, hanging out at Ace's bar, tossing napkins up in the air, going up on stage and just watching everybody go nuts. Probably one of my favorite memories of Temptations was definitely, I'll never forget it. I was in the middle of the dance floor. It was 97, and you were playing Instant Moments, and you looped that build, and I just felt like you were playing with the crowd at that point. I'm like, you're just looping this build, and right before it dropped, and when it dropped, it just worked at that point of the night. And I remember I was like, how's he doing that up there? I'm like, wait a minute, he has the CD 2000, and he definitely looped it. But I'm like, is that on CD or is that on vinyl? I remember I literally was like cap twisted on how you did that.
I'll tell you, that was off of vinyl, and that was one of the cycle loop. It was the little loop thing that you did that you connected the mixer to loop off of the turntable. I didn't have Instant Moments on CD. That was on vinyl.
I literally was like, how the fuck did he do that?
And with the EFX 500 along with it.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was such a great toy. But that was one of like my fondest memories because I remember it inspired me to like just want to push the boundaries when it came to me being a DJ. Is there any memory that sticks out in your head through your whole career at Temptations where it's like clear as day?
There are so many, but I mean, I'll tell you, aside from, I can go back and give you a couple Temps memories, but to me, a vivid memory and one that I'll never, ever be able to basically equal is opening night at Exit.
Yeah.
All right.
That was magical.
That was the largest crowd I've ever DJ'd for. We're talking about like 8,000 people inside that room, completely sardine packed. Still people like closing down the street outside, and the euphoria from that crowd when you drop a record. Like when I played Damn It Janet in that room for the first time,
yeah,
and that breakdown came and we heard the eruption, like me and everyone in the booth, it sounded like we were in Madison Square Garden and the Knicks or the Rangers were playing, and it was just like craziness. And we looked at each other, me and Eddie looked at each other, we're like, holy shit, what did just happen, And then Vinny would just start dropping the snow, and it was just, that was amazing. That club for that year was amazing.
That opening night, out of this world, it was crazy. I could not believe the amount of people. They blocked off streets for at least 2-3 blocks surrounding area of Exit. Nobody could get in that place. And you want to know something? I'm glad you brought up that memory of Damn It Janet, because I was in the booth when you dropped that record. The booth was packed. I remember the door to get into the booth was like, and then I finally made it in, and I was in the corner, and you dropped Damn It Janet, and that was definitely a memory of mine. And Waiting for Tonight, when you played Waiting for Tonight on another night at Exit was another memory of mine.
Well, I played it that night because Puffy and Jayla were there.
But oh wait, who performed that night?
No one performed. I mean, Anthony Lamar was performing, but that night, opening night, Puffy and J-Lo were an item, and they were there that night. They were on the dance floor. We have pictures of them and stuff. So that was pretty cool.
that room was crazy. I mean, so when you got that gig, and was it Alex? It was Alex and Leo that ran that party, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they called you up, and they were like, "Hey, we have this place. It's freaking awesome. We want you to be a DJ." Did you know what Exit was, or did you how did you understand like the magnitude of what this club was going to be, and how did that make you feel when you finally realized it was like, oh shit, this is larger than life?
Well, I'll tell you, that came about because I was at that place. I was working for David Marvisi prior to when it was Carbon.
Yeah.
Like the last year of Carbon, before it shut down to become Exit, I was working there. And, I built a relationship with David. And then Mark Anthony was part of my circle too, Panic Productions and all that stuff. And he was awesome. And he was a big hustler. And he made a lot of stuff happen for me back then too. But he was talking about what he was doing with Exit. And then Mark Anthony was involved, and Alex and Leo were involved. So it was something that we knew was happening, and that I was part of the conversation from early on. I didn't know that I was going to be the guy, but I was working for him at the time. So it was a good introduction into the opportunity to play in that room.
Yeah.
When it opened up. So it was great. I mean, Alex and Leo, they were friends too, and they were killing it back then too. Every party, their name was on a flyer. So they had their finger on the pulse, and they did some great things back then.
Mm-hmm. I'll ask you as a DJ, because when I played Exit, I didn't play that booth, but was it difficult mixing in that cage?
Hell yeah.
There was no floor.
It was difficult. It was uncomfortable. You had no feet padding, so your feet killed, and you were there for 10 hours playing on that thing. It was awful.
Yeah. I'm sure your lower back was on fire, because exactly, there was like no cushion on that thing.
No. And you felt like you were in a cage, and people were like just pressing up against the thing behind you. And it was definitely not the most comfortable and isolated booth where you can sort of focus.
Yeah.
Because you had a lot of distractions around you. But still, you felt like you were on top of the world, how you were hovering over that dance floor in that massive club with ceilings that you couldn't even see the top of. It was great. The theatrics were pretty spectacular.
Denny in that snow machine, when the lights were shut off and he would build up the snow, and when it would drop and everything would just flash. Oh man, mm-hmm. Epic nights.
Angry Vinny, he was always mad at me for something.
So that was a great time, but you also played. It transitioned into another great residency for you. I don't remember how long it lasted, but when I remember going to see you at the World, and that was a lot of fun. Who was involved in that party?
Well, it was Artie and Joey.
Mm-hmm.
Joey Morsi and Artie Argolo. And, they had a lot of stuff going on during those times, too. They had a lot of more chic, like higher A-list kind of parties that they always threw, and did a great job. And what happened was, the reason why I went to World and that opportunity even came is because every summer, where was I? I was at Temps.
Yeah.
Right? So New York City was not busy in the summertime. People went to the Jersey Shore or they went to the Hamptons.
Uh-huh.
So I'm obviously going to Temps in the summertime, that summer. I'm not going anywhere else. I'm not going to stay at Exit. And Marvisi insisted that I stay and not play at Temps. And I'm like, it's just not going to happen. I go, and also it's counterproductive. I was telling them, I go, listen, my crowd that's here, they all go down to the shore. The other half of the crowd, they go to the Hamptons. So we're there the entire summer, the people that you want back here in the fall and winter. So it's not the smartest play for me not to go down there and play for my crowd. And then everyone comes back after the summer's over. We're only talking about 13 weekends here compared to the rest of the year. Exactly. So it was, David was very, very, I guess, hard-headed when it came to certain things, and he wanted to do it his way, and he was a little bit crazy at times, but again, he meant well. So, and just like he would fire and threaten everybody, he says, if you go to Temps, then you're not at Exit anymore. So, and I'm like, I guess I'm not at Exit anymore, and because I'm going to Temps, and that's not gonna change. So after that, that's when, I built up that relationship and continued to talk to Artie and Joey, and they told me that they were opening up the World and what it was, and I met with all the WWE guys, and what they showed me the space, and in the middle of Times Square. I was hesitant at first because I didn't think they really had everything together to make a really big impact as far as sound wise, but I believed in Artie and Joey. They were great promoters. They believed in me. We had a crowd that we can both bring to the table. Yeah. And Sergio, I think he was even bartending. He helped with the promotion of that, along with, Mark Anthony and stuff. So there was a good crew involved. Good crew. What's his name was doing the hip hop stuff. Oh my God, the Greek guy. What's his face? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm forgetting. Who did the hip hop stuff back then?
I
And for Artie Joey.
I'm trying to think. I don't remember honestly.
Oh my God. Ted the Dillinger. Oh my
Ted the
goodness.
Dillinger.
Sorry, Ted.
That's right. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
He killed it too. He's also really great. But so then that's when it happened. Opening night there was insane, not only because of the amount of people, but the drama that I had to deal with in the DJ booth. The turntables were skipping because of that stage that they built. So I was literally DJing without shoes, with my socks, and trying to stay still so the records weren't skipped. So where the booth was opening night is not where the booth was afterwards. We moved it by the stage. So
Whoa.
that it was, when I tell you, it was a nightmare. Like literally had to tiptoe, took my shoes off to play records in that booth. They were not prepared. They didn't do it right.
Mhm.
But then they got it together, and I think the party was the best party of the year over there.
Yeah.
And everybody did their summer thing. They did their stuff in the Hamptons. I did the stuff at the Jersey Shore. We came back right after Labor Day. The party was amazing.
Yeah.
And then 9/11 happened, and everything changed after that.
Um,
So
Traveled a lot too, overseas playing. Where were some of the places that you spun?
yeah, Japan a few
And
times, Puerto Rico, Colombia, some really cool spots. It was that was a lot of fun. And all came about from Exit in New York, all the places I played there. And also every time that I would play down in Miami,
Mhm.
whether it was at Space or Amica or Mansion or whatever it was, all those rooms down there, that's when the whole like Latin America sort of vibe sort of came, and I met people and I started playing over there. And even in Georgia and South Carolina, some like after hours that you would think it was like the Bible Belt, but you go there and it's like full of Colombians. This after hours place is insane.
Wow.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun, man, playing abroad because they have a passion for music more so than what we have as far as the exposure to dance music, which is their mainstream sound. So those nights to me was like taking candy from a baby because it was easy. It was just basically play what you love and they're gonna love it. So
Super easy. I remember when I started traveling overseas and like playing outside of the tri-state area, I never really knew what to expect or how I was going to play because it was just, you know, the mindset everywhere else outside of the tri-state area, especially overseas, like dance music is mainstream. Did you find that you played differently when you traveled overseas than how you played in New York?
I think so, yeah, because when you played here, you always had to understand that not everybody got it, so you had to cater to that a little bit.
Yeah.
Where when you're playing somewhere abroad, where they're booking you to be you, you're not going to do something else. They're paying you and they're flying you out there so you can do what you do.
Hmm.
So you have that, you have that feeling that, what, I feel confident. All I need to do is be myself. But of course, you're in another room. You still got to vibe out the crowd and see what they're biting, because there's so many different genres and subgenres of our music. And, are they into more percussive stuff? Are they into more, who knows, like whatever they're into, but you throw them out there, you throw the bait and see what they bite. And
Yep.
then which way you guide them. But the great thing about it is that that you have the ability and the freedom to just play great stuff and see what they gravitate to, and then you can take the train in that direction.
Absolutely. Were there any awesome sound systems or like clubs that blew away in New York that you played overseas or in Miami? Anywhere.
Well, space has a great sound system, but overseas, I think the best sound system was in this place in Tokyo, a place called Belfare, and it was owned by a record company, Apex, I think it was, Japan. And that club itself was amazing. You basically walked these steps, these cool steps, and you took an elevator that was just like a trip. It was all trippy with the lights and everything. You opened up to the main floor. Massive, massive room, amazing visuals, really, really great sound. And I was playing there on a Saturday, and the first night we went there the night before, and Tiesto was playing. And it was before Tiesto really blew up. It was right around the time he did the Silence remix. So I met him there for the first time. But that room was just unreal. I mean, everything about it. The sound was just pristine, and the visuals, and you had the screens over there too. It was great. That was the nicest place abroad that I got to play.
That's dope. So like throughout this quarantine, how have you been keeping busy with yourself? I know you did that one live stream with Jason that I thought you destroyed it. Like, what have you been doing with yourself lately?
Well, you know what? Life, man. Trying to make sure that my job is still going to be there once we're all out of this craziness.
Hmm.
Dealing with, I've been in the corporate world for a long time. And, trying to maintain the sanity from people talking themselves off the ledge and holding on to business that way, just, regular work stuff. Another thing is being a dad and maintaining some sort of sanity with these kids and the remote schooling, which was crazy awful. And it's going to be crazy awful now starting next week.
Uh,
And then, just my number one fan and my partner in crime, Maria, just making sure that we're all surviving this stuff right now. The live stream was great. What Jason started with, that classics, it was just what the doctor ordered. It's very missed. It needs to happen again. Matter of fact, that was great. And he's the one who convinced me to do it, because I said it. Who wants to look at an old man pressing buttons, on a screen? I got a face for radio. So, but he said, you know what? It's not about that. And he was right.
yeah.
After a few songs, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to have fun. And I think everybody appreciated it. I appreciated it. It felt good doing it. So I'm glad that I definitely did it. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun because music is therapy. Music is medicine for us, especially during these times.
Yeah, it was definitely an amazing stream that you played. The anticipation for everyone wanting to hear you play was definitely high. You definitely crushed it. You played a remix of, oh man, hold on, it Lift Me Up, Jars of Clay. What mix did you play?
Well, it was.
It was definitely something that I'm like, what the hell is this? I've never heard it before.
Well, it was part of Jonathan's like bootleg remix that he did,
Uh huh.
and it was part some track. I got to tell you the name of it, but it was basically I kind of had them both rocking at the same time, and but the vocal part of it was from the little edit that Jonathan had done, and he had given it to me a few years back. It was really cool, awesome.
I literally, while you were playing it, I'm like sitting there going through all my music. I'm like, what mix is this? I do not have this. This is definitely something that he either made or did. And I literally started calling everybody like, yo, are you listening to Denny right now? What is he playing? I don't know what this mix is. It's been bugging me since then. So it's
Yeah,
been
got
happy that you.
on JP. That was him in the dungeon. Who knows what he did? It's dope. But it was like a portion of that with this other track. I can't, this is what happens when you get old. You
Yeah.
forget, dementia sets in.
It was definitely dope. Something that I'll never forget because I was going off to that whole set, but that was definitely a highlight of mine. But was that the last time you played? Because you got something coming up soon, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, funny. Nice segue. I like it. Well, believe it or not, I've done a couple of things during the summer, that just a few private events, friends that have had like big block parties in La Valette was one time. And, I know I did something else too. I can't remember, but I do have coming up on Sunday, which I'm really looking forward to, is headliner, the Oasis pool outside. And I don't know how they've been doing it this summer, but somehow they've been managing it with limited capacity because of all the COVID restrictions. I think because it's outside, I think they limit you to 500 people or something like that,
Yeah.
wearing masks when you go to the bar, I think, and to the restroom, and when you're waiting online to get in. I don't know how they're managing it, but they are. It's great. And I'm so happy that I'm going to be able to play some music for everybody and see them, because I haven't seen a lot of people in a long time. And plus, in the summer, I do have a few of my annual classic event that I did at Jenkinson's for many years, and I did it at Headliner one time. And last year, we moved it to Atlantic City for the first time, and it was such a huge success that we had it planned again for this August, but obviously all this happened.
Yeah.
But it should be fun. I hope people can get to it. Again, I don't know how strict it's going to be, but I'm sure it's still open to everybody. And I know they were doing, like, I don't know, tables, beds, whatever that you could reserve, but that should be fun. I'm hoping the weather gods are good to us and let it happen.
Let's see if I think the weather this weekend's looking. Yeah, I'm looking at the weather and it's money, brother.
There we go. I'll take it.
That's really, really dope, man. I remember when you posted that flyer, and even I started posting on my social media outlets. So many people are really, really excited. It's going to be such a great turnout.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm just, just to play and have fun. That's all about it. I just want to have fun.
Yeah.
I want to put smiles on their faces, and they're going to put a smile on mine. So
Yeah.
keep it simple.
So what else you got going on, brother? So I see that you've been going a lot of quality time with the family, going on vacations and nice little trips. What's it? I mean, being a family man, I'm sure that's super fulfilling.
Well, you know what? It's the most amazing thing in the world. Um, Having kids is the hardest job that you'll ever have, but also the most rewarding job you'll ever have. And right now, everything I do is for them, and it's amazing. It really is. It's tough. I ain't gonna lie to you. I have these kids right now that are sneaking out the back door trying to be funny, and they're all giggling, and I want to choke them out more times than not. But I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah.
All the most important things in my life, I have the best. I have the most amazing family. I have the most amazing wife. I have the most amazing kids. And to me, nothing can top it. Nothing. Music is my personal favorite on the side, but the real life stuff, nothing's more important than what I have. And I'm blessed to have what I have.
Yeah.
So
First always, right?
without a doubt. And I have to thank my mom and dad for instilling those type of values, because, there's some special people, and they're pretty wise and pretty awesome.
Yeah. So, is there a future DJ in the family, you think? Are they taking a liking to the music? Do they understand actually what an impact or who you are for many people?
I don't think they really understand so much. They know that I, am or used to be a DJ. And the only reason is, funny story, true story. We moved to another town last year and basically enrolled them in the school that they're in. Um, and some of the teachers that my kids had,
Oh, wow.
right, yeah, were on the dance floor. Like, is your daddy this person? Yeah. So that to me is, whoa, these kids, teachers, are people that have been partying with us for a long time.
Wow.
So, and it's amazing, like the town, I'm in West Caldwell now, and there's so many temps,
Yes.
people live in this town or the surrounding area. It's crazy. It's insane. So it's a lot of fun. It's neat to have that whole circle that, not only do I know you because you were partying at all my events over the years, now you're teaching, your life is straight and narrow, and you're teaching my kids.
Mhm.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's great, and that common denominator that I was saying about music, look where it's brought us,
Yeah, absolutely.
look where it's brought us. And to me, that's amazing. I just, it's so cool. Like, my son plays football and my daughter plays soccer, and on the sidelines, we're meeting parents that they're on the same team together. They're like, Denny, we used to come here, you play over here. I'm like, it's mind blowing. It's pretty funny, but it's cool.
It's super cool. I mean, I'm so happy that we had this opportunity to sit here and just like go over all the amazing things that you do and how life just full circle, and from growing up to music to family to all the memories that you gave everybody throughout your career and that you're going to continue to do. So you got this gig coming out this Sunday. Are there any more, like, do you still get the itch to want to do it like as much as you did in the past, or is it more about the family, focusing on work? How do you balance out that eager to want to go out and play and family?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, the family thing, 100%, 100 miles an hour, all in on it. But as far as the music, would I love to DJ still? Oh yeah, I'd love it. In the right room, with the right audience, to be able to do things just the way that I want to do it, I'd love to have that opportunity. But there are no venues. It's not really there anymore. So I'm so glad I did it during the times that I did it, because how things are today, it's it's abysmal, to be quite honest with you.
And
It's not the same.
I feel, I'm sure everybody does, just especially us, because we did it at a time that there's a lot of people that aren't going to understand the magnitude of what it's like to go record shopping, or what it's like to be a DJ and think of those records that you want to feature and build a story. I can't imagine what DJs now growing up, or even the next generation, how they're going to be able to carry the culture of what the true vibe of house music is these days. It's upsetting, but I'm also like kind of excited, because technology is such a big thing in DJing now, that I'm curious to see what's next.
Well, one thing that it has going for it, there is a lot of great music out there right now.
Hmm.
Still, it's just not getting exposed.
Getting exposed.
Okay. And part of the reason is because there's no outlets for them as there were before,
Hmm.
you know? So now going to a club has basically resorted to, if you're celebrating an event, you go to a club, where during our time, every night was another place to go.
Yeah.
And the way that people socialized, it's different than the way they socialize today. So the music, I feel, doesn't have that same impact personally to people today as it did back then.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can hear every dope record in a beer garden, where before you had to go and hear it at a certain club because only this guy had it, that exclusivity is gone.
Yeah.
So it also took away the luster, that shine that these music had, and that power. So it's different. Listen, I'm not going to knock it, because music is still great right now. Hopefully things will improve in clubland. I think the whole table stuff and bottle service and all those superficial things really impacted nightlife tremendously. And then you have all these festivals. Now the only time you're going to go hear, this great music is when you go to a festival, which is once, twice, three times a year. I don't know if you follow them or if you do the one that's locally. What happened to a local club that you can go and hear great music on a regular basis? And from a local DJ, it doesn't have to be a headliner. There's so many great local DJs that have good ear for music and can play the right music for the crowd, that it's become a thing of the past.
For
A
sure.
resident nowadays, where before you had residents, which was great.
Building that crowd and knowing your crowd, and it's
Yeah.
such a nostalgic feeling now, because it's just not around.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if
But I believe in the music, though. That's the thing.
yeah,
I believe in the music. I think there's such great stuff out there. There's still young producers that are hungry and are making great tracks and great songs. So I'm always going to love it. I hope that they have an outlet for these people and for these DJs in our scene, because right now we really don't. So
yeah.
at least I don't see it. Maybe it's because I'm old and I don't go out.
When it, like, let's just say down the road, when it comes to gigs that you're playing, I get this question asked a lot, so I'm going to ask it to you. Do you prefer playing classics, or do you prefer playing newer music?
Oh, well, I mean, that's a great question.
Yeah.
That's an awesome question. I became popular because I played new music.
Hmm.
So my first choice is always breaking new and playing great new music. So the classics thing, that's why I only do like 3, 4 events a year, because I don't want to do that on a regular basis,
Hmm.
you know? But I also feel that if I'm booked to play a night to just play music, you're always going to hear some classics.
Yeah.
Because remember, there was two types of records that I always play. And sorry if you're going to hear me cursing, it's oh shit records and what the fuck records.
Yeah.
You know, the what the fuck record is like, what is this?
Yes.
And the oh shit record's like, oh shit, I haven't heard this in so long. You know, those were the two type of records that I always wanted to play in my set. So you're always going to hear some cool old stuff amongst all the new cool stuff. So
cool. Well, my man, we've been chatting for an hour and a half now. Could you believe that's how long it's been? Doesn't feel like it, right?
No, it just flew by. Hopefully we didn't bore everybody.
No, I definitely don't think we bored anybody. We got a bunch of people that are on, but Denny, thank you so much for taking the time out of your family life and your personal life to sit and talk with me and hang with me and to uh, tell us a little bit more about your story because, as I said, you've done so much in this industry and you've done so much for many other people, especially myself as an inspiration watching you do your thing. Just thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Hey, listen, it's my pleasure, and I'm so happy for you because I think you found your voice with this. This is something that I think you need to continue. Definitely build upon that because I've enjoyed listening to you and watching you do these things. So you definitely have a face for it, unlike me. So it's good, and a voice, which is a good thing.
You're making me blush, brother. Means a lot. Denny, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Do you have any shout outs that you want to give or special thanks?
You know what? Shout outs to God, to everybody. Like whoever was listening, a big shout out to all the headline crew that I'm going to see this weekend. Kosta, Dimitri, Eugene, all the guys that played a big role. Tio, all my friends. The whole crew. Even my light boy Mayfie, which I don't even know he's listening. Probably not, but anyway, that miserable little son of a gun who would pee in the garbage can in the DJ booth. But
that went on in a booth.
Yeah, because I wouldn't let him leave, and there was no way he could make it to the bathroom in time. So there was a special garbage can that he used.
Denny, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Hang on just for a moment. Let me say goodnight to everybody. Guys, thank you so very much for being with us tonight. Once again, another successful episode of Chillin' with Mendez. Don't forget, tomorrow night, you can catch me at Sushi Lounge, dinner reservations at 7 o'clock. Then, of course, Sunday, the main event with Denny Tsettos down at Headliner. And also coming up very soon, be on the lookout. The next guest on Chillin' with Mendez is going to be Eugene and Trona, and that's going to be such an epic showcase. So stay tuned for that. But as always, guys, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed. And if you guys ever need anything or have any questions or need someone to talk to, I'm always around. All right? Have a good night, y'all. Peace out, and we'll see you next time.